Yeah, right
That's
here.
me.
I'm recording it to my computer now so that you can stop your recording, Pete, and then we can have her listen to this. But anyway, everybody's here except Deb.
Okay, great, great. So I commend you guys for your hard work. I know it's just hard work. I commend you for enduring having your photograph taken. I would almost rather be Wade than have my photograph taken, but
I know. They're gonna have to put a happy face on me.
Angie put rabbit ears behind me on the photo, so.
okay,
We're just keeping it real. That's fine.
okay. So I have a theory I shared with Eldon today. I think it's right. I don't know how I can prove it, but I think the more you communicate with the church, the more they will pray for you. And more doesn't mean telling them things you shouldn't tell them, but it means telling them often, telling them about every single meeting, everything. You can tell them what you were working on without telling them you talked about candidate so and so, but good for you. So you're getting good things done. I still think the poster on the wall would be a good idea because you could check things off very dramatically. I was looking today a bit at Ken Moberg's checklist of kind of possible meeting inclusions and looking in the book a little bit and noticing, you're getting stuff done, you're moving along. So, and that it's just that kind of process. You just have to plod. You just one step at a time, like eating the elephant, one bite at a time, right? So you just stay patient, persistent, tenacious, keep your meetings spiritual, relational, recreational. And I came up with another Al today. They'll be educational. It'll be very educational, actually. By the time you're done, you will all say, wow, I learned a lot going through that.
But do you think we could become church whisperers ourselves?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I am always looking for secret seekers everywhere. Secret seekers are people who will go to churches for me and just play dumb and act like a normal visitor and then fill out the secret seeker form. I can't do that because they know who I am. So I try to recruit people. So I'm trying to recruit some people for northern Minnesota right now, actually. So hang in there. You're doing great. You have a very full agenda for tonight. You're not going to get it all done unless you stay there till midnight, but it looks like you're going to talk about the 5 C's. You're going to talk about the E-Free recent document about denials and affirmations. And you're going to start talking about the key questions from Ken Moberg. And I just want to make a little bit of a sermon with regard to all of those things. The temptation is to be too nice, especially being in Wisconsin, not that far from Minnesota, having a couple of Scandinavians in the room. To make these things work, you really have to be breathtakingly honest. And I know that's hard for many of us, but the scriptural formula, of course, is speaking the truth in love. And it's easy to say, yeah, I said that he was a dirty, rotten creep, in love. But I think what that probably means is without malice, which Paul talks about later in the chapter. Malice is wanting to hurt somebody. So you could say, like, one of these days you'll start writing your pastor profile, and you'll probably send Eldon out of the room. You'll send him out to play on a keyboard or look at his phone or something, because you'll talk about what you saw in Steve that you really want to get in your new guy, and then what you don't want. Okay, that'll be hard. And you'll talk about things you saw in Eldon that you really want in the new guy, and then things you saw in Eldon that you really don't want, like, not another Scandinavian, too many You know, we had enough of those Ole and Lena jokes, so.
Or overall.
So
We're overall.
the way to make that honesty, I missed that. I want to hear it though.
I said no more overalls in church.
No more overall. Okay. Who wears the
You
overall?
understand, Brian, the third Sunday of every month, I come wearing bib overalls. I wear a suit jacket and a tie, but I wear bib overalls.
Really?
Yeah.
I want to see that. So anyway, it's a challenge, but it's so important in these discussions that we speak the truth. And it's so hard because it's so easy to con ourselves, not just other people, but to con ourselves. We start talking about what our values are, what's our church's mission, what's our church's vision, its dream for the future. And we don't mean to con the pastor candidates, but we do. And the pastor candidates don't mean to con the churches either, but they do. And there are some quips and quotes out there about all the dishonesty that goes on when churches interview pastor candidates. But a lot of it is just not knowing ourselves. So dig deep into these discussions. Counselors use the term withholds. So withholds are the things that, you know, Dan is thinking about Lisa, but not saying in the session, or the things Lisa is thinking, but not saying. Your wife is Lisa, right?
Yes.
Got it. Okay. Those are withholds. So you can't, those withholds in the search committee room will really come back and bite you later on. So get it out there. So we're gonna,
I have a
yes,
question.
please.
On that headhunter,
Yes.
a headhunter in business is kind of a scoundrel when it comes to getting people to come to work from, stealing good employees for another business. That's what they get paid to do.
Yes.
A headhunter. So it's kind of like, or we're not doing that, right?
Mm. Some churches do. I mean, at some point you'll talk about going after some pastor who's having a happy, successful ministry somewhere. You'll be talking about that. Some churches think it's fine to do that, so they won't get the fee for it, Charlene, like the professional headhunter. But
Yeah,
churches do try to steal pastors from other churches,
really.
and they succeed.
And sometimes we'll have interviewers that they're leaving their church, but they're not letting it necessarily known that they're leaving their church, so.
Right.
That's kind of a confidential thing for a while until they.
Right.
We've had, in our last interviews, we had that.
Okay. So to have these honest discussions, you'll have to be very sure, very confident that the other people in the room are going to keep this right here, right? Because if, one of you says something that's potentially embarrassing, if it gets out there all over the church, and then it leaks out of one of you into the rest of the church, well, then that person will never speak the truth again. So if you haven't vowed backwards and forwards to each other to keep your stuff confidential, do it tonight. So questions about that honesty stuff and speaking the truth? Comments? I like the headhunter question.
One of the things that, Ken mentioned when he was with us is the importance of having our small group feel like a small group as a
This right here, yes,
So to be transparent and vulnerable with each other.
yep,
Without using that to beat each other up over the head, you know.
yep. Yep. So I'm working with a church right now. Eldon knows about this, but the pastor thought he could trust the elders with something about his own sin, a sin that he had committed, and they beat him up with it. Yikes. I mean, they absolutely beat him up with it. And now they're mentioning everything else that they have ever not liked about him,
Hmm.
in fact.
How long
So-
was he there when this?
He's been there 3 years.
3 years is a crucial time.
So if you don't mind, can we get started a little bit? And Eldon, I think he asked me to do this. Can we just get started a little bit talking about the key questions for church leaders? And we won't settle anything, and we'll just get through a couple of them.
What's that paper look like?
So everybody has the key questions.
On the back of the 3 pages that he gave us, so the 5C.
Oh, gotcha.
The very last pages.
Okay.
I know I was like, and then there we have the little 5C questions things too, because I was just putting them in a different order too.
This is one I purchased. Example. I didn't get one yesterday.
You didn't get one Sunday?
No, I did not get one yesterday.
Julie, would you like me to make you?
Make a copy
That would be
real
great.
fast.
Actually,
Make
I
2
got the
copies.
5 Cs. If you can just print the back page of questions, I've got.
The key question,
Yeah, key questions.
2 pages.
Okay, so we'll just go ahead and jump in. The first question, I'm not even gonna touch, and Eldon and Mike, you can touch it if you want, but how many people are we gonna have? I don't know. Oh, that'd be my answer. I don't know. But let's look at number 2. Number 2. What is the vision of the church? So the vision is a collective dream. So
Okay.
I don't know if you guys ever put something on paper, but let me talk about visions or dreams just a little bit. This isn't spooky, it's not weird. Some pastors enjoy arguing with me about this, and we're still friends, but I have a couple pastor friends who don't believe in the vision thing at all. And they'll say, and I'll say, well, Pastor Fred, we'll call him Fred. Pastor Fred, I know you have a vision for your church. You have a dream for your church. He'll say, nah, I don't believe in that stuff. But he does, because in truth, almost every member of every church, and even a lot of people who are just way out on the fringes or just visit the church, have a dream, a vision for that church. How would they like it to change in the future? So on any given Sunday morning at your church, let's just say you have 50 people. You have 50 people there. You probably have 50 different dreams or visions for how you would like to see the church change in the future. Like, let's just mess around here. I won't pick on you this time. Not this time, but we'll just say Susie would like the coffee stronger. Joe, he'd like the coffee available as soon as the doors are open in the morning, and available right through the worship service, and big fat donuts too. He wants donuts. And then
And
Shirley,
Angie wants good
she
creamer.
thinks
Yes,
Yes.
creamer. The good
And
stuff.
Angie wants good creamer.
okay, there you go. We're getting there now. So Shirley, she thinks the coffee and donuts in church thing is an abomination. Like the week I was with you last, there was no coffee at all. Terrible. So, and then we'll say, try to David over here, there's no David in your room. David's dream for your church is a paved parking lot. Okay. And then Selma, she wants an Awana program. Or wants, you ever have one?
We got Good News Club.
Good News Club.
Good News Club. Well, Selma wants an Awana program. So Elijah, he wants a great missions program. And his wife, Bree, she wants a great children's ministry. And we could just go on and on and on. 50 people, 50 different dreams, 50 different visions. And what I would tell Pastor Fred is, don't tell me you don't have a vision for your church. The problem is you've got 50 people and 50 different visions for your church. And the challenge, if you want these people working together, is you've got to get how many?
Yeah.
How many? Anybody?
One.
One, you've got to get one. So football team that's going to win the Super Bowl, everybody in the room has got to have a dream of winning the Super Bowl. If you got people in the room who just want to barely have a winning season, or just get through the season alive and get my paycheck, that's not going to cut it. So that's the vision thing. So the goal is to get to a collective dream that, maybe it doesn't hit on all that stuff, but it's biblical, and it's one that everybody in the church can get a hold of, latch on to.
Now, are you speaking to us as a group to help come up with a common vision that we can get the church to grab a hold of, or something that the entire church needs a common vision?
The whole church needs a common vision. I'm not saying it's your job, but this is all just leading up to the question on here that says, what is the vision of the church? So here's the question. Does Faith Evangelical Free at Boyceville have a commonly held vision, dream for the future? And your pastor candidates are going to ask this. What would you say?
Well, I hear there's a lengthy vision statement written somewhere. I don't even know what it is.
Correct.
Mhm.
And it was going to be compressed, but I'm not sure if we ever got it compressed. We did have a vision statement
Mhm.
that we gave our candidates last time,
Okay.
but it was still in the works of being fine tuned and less wordy.
And most of those, I hate to be mean, but most of those lengthy vision statements aren't worth the paper they're printed on, because it's just something somebody came up with that sounds really good. But if people don't know it, they don't own it, they don't love it, they don't,
Just looking.
breathe it, then it isn't really good for anything.
What I've done in the last 3 bulletins is I put on the front the mission statement that's in the Constitution and bylaws.
Yeah, that's what I was just reading. I was like, I just read it as I was standing up here.
Mission,
Faith Evangelical Free Church seek to glorify God by caring for one another and by sharing Christ with others.
Now, that's different than the one that was on the bulletin when I first came, and I don't know where that vision statement came from, but this is the one that was in the Constitution.
most churches that I look at,
Followers.
sorry,
Yes, I don't know.
most churches that I look at,
What mission,
Yeah.
what's the difference between the mission statement and the vision statement? I mean, I think that was maybe there was the two different, one was the mission statement and one was the vision statement.
And my
Mission-
understanding. Oh,
I
sorry, go
think.
ahead, Brian.
I
mission
think,
is what we do.
right,
Mission is what we do. Vision is what we're trying to become.
Right.
Vision is the dream. And I would say to anybody who says they don't have a vision, I would say, look at your prayers. When Mike prays for the church, what does he pray? When Angie prays for the church, what does she pray? When Charlene prays for the church, what does she pray? When Julie prays for the church, she prays for good coffee creamer. Is that what I heard?
That was me.
Yeah.
That was Angie.
That was
Not me, I
Angie.
don't drink it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Mission is what we do, vision is what.
Well, if I can
What we
hobby horse
dream.
on that, all these dairy farmers, and we've got soybeans for a coffee creamer. There's something wrong.
Definitely.
Ooh.
Brian, can you say your nice little line, catch
Yeah,
line there?
mission is what we do. Mission is what we do.
Vision
And
is,
vision is what we're trying to become. It's your dream for the future. So if you saw me as a pastor and just listened to the prayers on Sunday morning, you could figure it out. Okay, he's praying for this and this and this and this. That's his vision. So
If somebody like, just to make it simple, because Angie and I want creamer, we should bring creamer. You know, if somebody wants,
go for it.
yeah, if somebody wants a bus ministry, they need to learn how to drive a bus. Right? I mean, is that what we're
I
looking
did it.
for?
Well, okay, so if you,
We're
I'm
bringing
glad you mentioned that.
I did, it was.
You just have meetings.
I have to bring creamer every week.
If you just have meetings and the pastor or somebody gets up and says, you know, everybody just do what they feel like they should do, you're going to be going in every which direction
But
imaginable and just diffusing your energy, and everybody's probably frustrated. And it's, yeah, I'd never scold people for having their own dreams, like I want a bus ministry, or I would love to see a Sunday school, or I would love to see a this or whatever. But at some point we have to get our heads together and come up with something common. If you just, so typically what happens in a lot of churches is you have some strategic planning weekend and you're trying to write a vision statement, and all the strongest personalities in the church show up, and then you hear all their pet things, you know, all their individual things. You put them on a flip chart board, and then you try to kind of attach them together. And sometimes some of that is mutually exclusive.
so would you like put them in a category, not categories, but like the first thing we want to accomplish?
Can do that.
The second thing we want to accomplish, once this is
Can do that.
stable and working, then we go to the next one, because our
You can do
workers
that.
are few, right? Because we've got such a small church and schedules are crazy, and you know, so
Just
yeah.
all the greater need then to get that vision sharp and simple and something that people can agree on. And then, yeah, you can bring the coffee creamer on your own and satisfy that, or bring your really strong coffee like I like in your own mug, and you know, let the Gentiles have what they want. But anyway, it's really vital, because it has a lot to do with the pastor you're looking for. Obviously, you know, if your dream as a church is to have a big rockin' children's ministry, for instance, you probably don't want a 75-year-old pastor. And if your dream is to have a big rockin' senior ministry, which you just might, you know, he's only 73. If you want a big rockin' senior ministry, you probably don't want a 25-year-old pastor, right? And
Right.
he needs to love your vision, and ideally, and you pray 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 and you believe you've got this from God, and then ideally God gives you the pastor who looks at your dreams and says, oh yeah, I want to help them get there. I love that. I want to get on board with that. And what you probably don't want is a pastor who comes in and he's got his own ideas about everything. He's going to throw out everything you've done and then pursue his own stuff.
I like what Ken said in his book, there's two different ways of being a search committee. There's the train in the station waiting for the new leader to come and to take the train out.
Hmm,
The other is for the train to be moving and the pastor having to hustle to get on the caboose to learn what
Absolutely.
the church is doing already.
absolutely. Love it. Love it.
Wanna be,
So anyway, that's
right?
important stuff for you to talk about, your elders to talk about. If you can, so my view would be that God has a dream for your church. That's very specific. And if you can download that, you've got something really, really powerful. If you've got a dream, a common dream or vision, and if you don't like those words, call it a big prayer request. Some churches just call it a big ask, A-S-K, but you have to say that carefully. Where was I going with that? I don't know, but if you've got one that you believe came from God, that's really powerful. That's really powerful. So in one church in Buffalo, Minnesota, all the elders were sent home with a flip chart page, and they were supposed to fill up the page with, it just said at the top, my dream is that our church will become, and then they're supposed to finish it. And one of the elders, wasn't me, I was an interim pastor, probably better that it didn't come from me. One of the elders came back.
Minnesota,
Pardon me?
Buffalo, Minnesota.
Buffalo, Minnesota. You know it?
Well, yeah, we're from Annandale.
Oh, all right. Right up the road. Right up the road.
Yeah.
Anyway, one of the elders came back with the stuff on his flip chart page was just so good. It just knocked my socks off. I think I scared the guys in the room because I read it and I said, wow, that's it. There it is. No, I'm scaring you, but anyway, let's talk about number 3 just a little bit. Would somebody read the paragraph out loud?
Church consultants George Bullard and Paul Borden have pointed out that churches are organizations whose life follows a bell-shaped life cycle. 4 themes characterize where a church is on the life cycle: vision, relationship, programs, and management. Describe where you think the church is now, using those 4 themes expressed in capital and small letters, like
You don't need to read that,
blah, blah,
Charlene.
blah. What gifts and skills are needed in light of that?
Okay, so when we did the assessment 3 years ago, I think you told me the church was pretty significantly in decline, or towards the beginning of decline. And then some of you have told me that it declined further since then. And when we did the journey wall a few weeks ago, you pretty much told me you've gone from, you can see this, right? You've just in the last few months, you've gone from decline back to the redevelopment stage again. So you're getting a fresh start. You're reorganizing things again, and you're getting re-energized, and you're on the way up again instead of on the way down. And my question would be for you to talk about, and we can start right now and then I'll let you go. What gifts and skills are needed in light of that? So if the church is on the way back up now, what gifts and skills are needed? What kind of pastor would you say that calls for?
I mean, got some evangelism skills.
Okay. Somebody else? What do you think?
Energy.
Energy comes in handy.
management,
I'm sorry?
management,
Okay, some management ability.
Organization.
cause
being
that was something
organized
that you
and
guys kept
manager.
saying was that.
Yeah. Yeah,
This is stuff to write down,
follow through, that he's gonna
follow
the
through.
project.
We've talked about that a bunch, actually, follow through, right? Making sure that when the decision gets made, that it gets implemented and doesn't get lost. Yep. So it's just talking to an interim pastor recently who's in quite a healthy church that had a healthy pastor for a long time, healthy church. But he mentioned to me that, how did he put it? The pastor who was there didn't systematize anything. He didn't create any systems. So it was just kind of probably fun and haphazard. And so there's a point at which you've got to organize things a bit. So I'm going to leave you there, but you can see that this page obviously requires a lot of discussion,
Yeah.
a lot of prayer, a lot of help from God. Right?
Amen.
Any burning questions before I let you go?
Would you like to come back again, Brian?
Oh, anytime.
I apologize for my cell phone reception, by the way, for the 4 times he tried to call me, but I only don't have cell reception at our house anymore, so I can't connect with anybody. I'm totally isolated. So yeah, we tried like 4 times and I'd get like 5 words in and I could hear you, but you couldn't hear me. So I could hear you perfectly clear, but you
Oh,
couldn't
really?
hear me. Yeah, apparently.
Did I make any sense?
Yeah, you were perfectly clear the whole
Well,
time.
you didn't make any sense, so
You
it
didn't
was.
hear any of my words. Yeah,
He never does.
never does.
Somebody could make a
That's okay.
comedy routine out of those conversations, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, it's been like that for a while now, so we're gonna have to get something.
Oh, boy.
I have to switch carriers, but I'm told
Oh, boy.
Verizon doesn't have signal in our area either now, it's just.
That's too
Been like
bad.
this for about a month and a half, but it's getting worse instead of better.
Is it real hilly
even if
where
I
you
go
are?
down the road, pardon?
Is it real hilly where you are?
I have 3 bars, when I was trying to talk with you, I had 3 bars. So, 2 bars, I had 2 bars. I even went out to the mailbox, I started walking down the road and usually sometimes I can get a signal then. But yeah, I have a small business and to not have any way to have communication is getting
Yeah, it's
That's
not
pretty
good.
tough. So we don't know what's going on with AT&T's towers, but it's not just us, we've talked to others and.
Oh, boy.
And it's not just my phone, it's my son's phone, my wife's phone, so it's the tower, it's the actual tower. And, but yeah, we don't have cell reception at all at our house, so I can't
Frustrating.
send text anymore, text will work usually, but not always, but cell phone is impossible.
Hmm.
So anyway, I apologize, 4 times I think you called me in a row and I could hear you perfectly, you just couldn't hear me, so.
We'll have that conversation someday.
Okay.
Eldon, great job with the microphone. That's a huge improvement. I'll tell people that everywhere.
You can get them at Walmart,
Now what do you got? No. Rob.
$50.
A 360 microphone at Walmart?
Yeah,
You got that at Walmart?
I was gonna order it online, but it took 24 hours to get it from Amazon, so.
They had a unidirectional.
Not fast enough.
That was
Let me
inside.
pray for you.
Menominee.
Because of Zoom.
Let me pray for you.
Okay.
Father, I pray that you'd give my brothers and sisters in Boyceville a great and profitable meeting tonight and the whole process. Father, may they have discussions that are controlled and led by your Spirit, and just use the process itself just to bring the people together, bring their dreams, their Spirit-given dreams and goals together, and may they be matched up with a pastor who just wants to get on board this train, and bless them for your sake, for your glory. Amen. 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 Good night, gang.
Good night, Brian.
Good meeting.
Sleep tight.